Just before the video starts, a quick note. Electricity is very dangerous, and this is not a how-to video, nor am I advocating that you follow along. You do so at your own risk. Let's go. Hi and welcome to the Art of Engineering. This is something completely different. In the past, I've only ever done one consumer electronics video, and that was the repair of the SANSUI stereo amplifier. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on a couple of consumer electronics radios, a DAB radio that's lost its DAB functionality, and also a TAC retro style AM/FM radio with a CD player. Spoiler alert, the TAC CD player is not resurrected. I couldn't get parts, but the radio's improved certainly. And the other radio, we'll stick around and find out how the DAB repair goes. And now for something completely different. This is Radio 1 and this is Radio 2. Now don't be fooled by the retro look of these radios. They are both reasonably modern, solid state radios, and both of them have something in common. They both have problems. Now the Bush radio on the left, I have been told, I haven't checked it yet, works normally, but the DAB on it is intermittent. Sometimes it comes on and sometimes it does not. I know absolutely nothing about DAB, so that should be a lot of fun. And the one on the right, I've been told, does not power up. So this episode of The Art of Engineering, we're going to delve into some consumer electronics and see if we can get both these radios operational. I think what I'm going to do is the completely dead radio is the one I'm going to give a go. So the one on the right is the one that I'm going to start with. So we will take the Bush radio out of the equation for the time being. Let's power it on and just see how dead it is, because I have not done a test yet. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if you can see it in screen, but the clock is on, so it's not completely dead. Let's switch on our AM radio power. Well, I'd like to play more of that clip, but there's music, and that will copyright infringe me. The sound was really motorboaty and noisy, and that points to some problems with filtering capacitors, so we're going to jump in there and rip out some filter capacitors. Now, like is always the case, I have no idea how I'm going to get into this thing. I'm assuming that this will get the case apart. Let's hope. There's 4 really obvious screws here, but they're set really deep.
Screws are turning with same value capacitors, and at least it becomes unlikely that people are going to buy.
Now there was a few extra screws. There's one here and there's a couple of small ones that I hadn't seen. That's always the danger of this situation, that you miss screws that you didn't see. So I think it's quite obvious what may be wrong with this. I can see a number of capacitors that are really obviously compromised, bloated and corroded. So this may be an easier fix than I thought. That's not to say that we're necessarily going to get the CD player going in it, because the laser in that might be gone, and I'm certainly no expert on that sort of technology, but let's not be too pessimistic. Let's get the supply going. Well, that was way more difficult than I thought it would be, but we've managed to keep all this stuff intact, so that's going to make my life a lot easier in the long run. Screws flying everywhere. We're going to have a lot of fun putting it back together again, but at least now I can get to these circuit board screws, and I can also get to this, so I can disconnect it and hopefully keep it in the right position so that we don't have to try and work out how this all goes, because it will be a nightmare if we have to get it back in position and it doesn't stay where it's supposed to. Now, as you can see, we've got 3 for at least two capacitors that are very noticeably, this one is very bloated. This one looks like it's corroded as well, although this might be fallout from this one here. But what the plan is, replace all of these three, power it up and see if it behaves itself, and if it does, we'll probably leave it at that. The one that's really crapped itself is 1000 microfarad, 16 volts. So we've got ourselves on the JCar website, and we have a little shopping list for the capacitors that are essential. I always write down the catalogue codes as well, just to make life easy. Maddie said that I'm just to do my best with this. My honour as a radio restorer is at stake. Not that I have any honour. And now it's time to see if the Mr. Bush radio wants to behave itself. It's plugged in, and I've heard that this has a DAB issue, that the DAB never works. Let's just turn it on. Well, already, I'll just let you listen to what's coming out of it. DAB, when you turn on the DAB, the display's not coming on. Now that might be part and parcel of filter capacitors that have died, because I think that this is suffering from a very similar situation. We've got low wave here. It says to push and slide, and sure enough, that gets us into this section, which is probably for the normal punters, because this is also a battery operated radio. So we will have a look here to see how many screws come out of it. Not too many, I don't think. So hopefully this will be easier to get in to have a look at the circuit board.
Equipment with they make more money. Customers hate you, of course.
And what is that little thing?
Yay!
And as we can see here, we have another very convoluted tile arrangement. Just imagine if that was broken. Like, how would you ever work out how that goes back the way it was? I guess you'd be requiring a service manual of some sorts. And it is like the finest string you've ever seen. It's just ridiculous. So I have to be really, really careful how I approach this whole process, because we're going to get ourselves in a lot of trouble otherwise. And the other thing is that the damn thing is surface mount devices, which is going to make my life more difficult as well. If I can get this board off and these stay in position, that will be a good thing. You can see the whole thing slides off. But you know, slide it off, and then how do you get it back on again? That's going to be the problem. And this is, I think, part of, I'm hoping it's part of the circuit board, but I think it's not. The circuit board sits over the top of this arrangement, which makes life really difficult, because you've got to return this whole setup the way it happens here. Difficult. I already know that this dial arrangement is going to be an absolute to get back together again. It's already looking like it's going to be diabolically difficult. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. Luckily I took lots of video and lots of photographs, and it was kind of like monkey see, monkey do, but it all went back in pretty easily. Note to people that are doing this sort of stuff, keep all your screws really well organized so you know where they all go back into the equipment, and lots of photos and lots of videos of how things all go back together and how they come apart. Nothing is ever easy in the way they put these things together. Like, I don't know, it's almost like someone said to the mechanical engineer, design me the most convoluted dial arrangement you can so that whoever services this will never ever be able to get it back together. unless he's a member of Mensa. And for the mechanically retarded, it's going to be difficult. So anyway, we do have a photo of it, and so hopefully that is a giant help. I'm just going to move the light out of my way so that I can get to this last screw. And let's have a look at the other side of this board. Yes, we do have a bit of a few electrolytics happening. Okay, we are going to disconnect some of these connectors. So just so I can remember what's going on, let's get the light in the right direction. We're going to disconnect all of the red leads are going to the left. I don't know whether these will plug in the wrong way. They won't because they're keyed, which is good. So this one that goes to this part of the board is up here to the DAB switch. So I will reflow the solder leads on that because we're heading up to this DAB switch via those leads. I'm also going to disconnect this one. Now it, I think it's the same size as the other one. Is it not? No, it's not. So we can't get them in the wrong position. That's good. We can see that we've got a number of capacitors on here that could be failing, but we do have, I mean, this could just be glue that's used to, I think it is glue that's used to sit these capacitors down when you get them soldered. That looks a bit manky. I would say that that's most likely glue. I've seen that happen before. A lot of heat coming off that capacitor, I would say. It looks like it's really scorched the board. Although that could be these components here because they're heat synced onto this. That's what that might be. Okay, we're plugged in and we have mains on this, so we're going to try not to kill ourselves. That's the pin out for that component that is scorched. It's a voltage regulator, 3-pin voltage regulator. So we should be going from this side to here to find the voltage out. Let's have a look and see if there's anything here. Tab to ground. And volts in. We've got 9 volts coming in on that one. And we've got 12 volts coming in on this one. And then coming out, we've got 1.2 volts. And we've got 0.084 volts. So that is a dead regulator, I would say. So that is definitely cactus, which may explain why none of the stuff up here is working. Let's desolder that that component and see if we can get hold of it on a mouser. As usual, microphone's playing up. We have one more capacitor to go to get out, and then we can quickly fire it up and just see whether. I'm hoping I can just do this on the bench, as precarious as it all looks. We'll see if we can get something out of this unit and see whether it's still sounding as bad as it did.
He will, but
Okay, yeah, use your hands to catch and play the ball. Come around the ball. You don't have to put the spray.
Well, we are back on the test bench, and radio number 2 is up for repair. I would say radio number 1, not 100% successful. I'm hoping this goes a little bit better. And we have the 3-pin 3.3 volt regulators, surface mount devices. I have not done a lot of surface mount work, and I certainly don't have a lot of surface mount experience. So this may also not go very well, and it'll be 2 for 0, and that would be terrible. But you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You can get lucky on occasions, but you also have to be willing to accept that there'll be times when things get wrecked. I think the wonderful thing about electronics in the current day and age is that things are a lot cheaper than they were back in the day when I was buying stuff. Certainly amateur radio gear is a lot cheaper. And the gear that I buy, a lot of it's kit built. Even my Hermes Light, although it wasn't really, I wouldn't classify it as a kit, you still had to put boards together and do some construction. And the whole thing's only worth about $550. So you certainly feel more confident when you're going in that if something were to go wrong, it's not the end of the world. So that, folks, is we'll just get a light on it. That is a little 3-pin regulator, and we are going to install that in place of the one that's died, and hopefully we'll have a radio that works on a DAB. This is where the little regulator is going to go. We have ripped a pad off, but I'm hoping there's enough track left there to make a contact with the regulator, and we'll see how we go. I'll try and get one pad down. Okay, well, we had to throw a little piece of our lead in there to bridge the gap to the leg, but that is done now, so I guess it's time to do the smoke test. All I can say is I'm so glad that I took a few photos of this mechanism and the way it was strung up. I'm still not sure if I've got it 100% correct and what the calibration will be like at the front, but I'm hoping that when push comes to shove that this will tune all right. So we shall see when we get it all together. Yay! This episode of The Art of Engineering is sponsored by Ajax. Not really. We've got power. See what happens when we select DAB. So when we select DAB, something should happen up here, I'm hoping. Oh, welcome to DAB. FBI radio, now tuning.
If you would like to hear us yarn, tune in on Mondays, 8 to 9 p.m. on Koori Radio, 93.7.
Hey, hey, all my beautiful people. Health emergency with children and adolescents particularly vulnerable to it. The latest strain has killed at least 450 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and cases have been detected in Sweden and Pakistan.
Here we have it, folks. 2 radios repaired. This one has this lovely orange LED, which gives it the faux glow of a vacuum tubes. And what I had to do to repair this was basically change a lot of the electrolytic capacitors in it. Had a valiant attempt at readjusting the laser in the laser reader unit in this CD player. Unfortunately, cannot get this particular make of laser unit as far as I can tell. Please let me know in the comment section below if you've got a source for that particular part, and I'll have another go at it. I also used some electrical cleaner on the pots because the pots were very, very noisy.
With the 9 News team, and in my podcast, Just Married, the Anthea Bradshaw Mystery, I'm investigating what really happened to Anthea Bradshaw.
So that's how our AM radio
is out
FM's
now,
working on this
wherever
as
you
well.
listen to your podcast.
And pots are not noisy anymore, and we've gotten rid of the hum from the supply. This one here, the DAB had failed. My apologies for Sky News. It is probably the only thing that won't get me pinged for copyright. So this is the DAB radio, and as you can hear, it's fairly crystal clear. There's no static hiss in the background. It's actually quite a pleasant thing to listen to.
From domestic problems I bet she's having. I mean,
Thank you for sticking around right to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed this little exploration into the repair of some consumer electronics. I am by no means an expert, and you probably realise that from the fumblings that you saw in the last few minutes of repair that were distilled down to a few minutes. Was probably quite a lot of hours, but hours spent enjoying myself and getting to know the insides of a piece of electronics I hadn't seen before. There is so much electronics on the side of the road on cleanup days that you could grab hold of and just have a look. Why did it fail? Is it repairable? And you can hone your skills on stuff that's very low risk. You're not working on someone's expensive hi-fi equipment and whatnot. Let me know in the comment section whether you enjoyed this video or whether it was really boring. Either, I'm happy to hear your feedback, and I'm hoping to see you, if you don't unsubscribe, in the next episode of The Art of Engineering 7.3.